Welcome to a fun one. Should a man get in trouble for wearing a tiny swimsuit at the beach? A whole country arguing over a few extra inches of fabric. Before we start, one idea. There is a difference between a habit and a rule. A habit is just what most people happen to do. A rule is when people truly believe you ought to do it and look down on you if you do not. Red says a Speedo breaks a real rule. Green says it only breaks a common habit. This is about custom on an American beach, nothing more.
It is not right, and no, not because the suit is dirty or evil. It breaks a strong American habit, and that is enough. Look at the scoreboard. Board shorts own about half the market. Briefs sit near a third and sliding. We even minted a whole comedy dictionary for it. Banana hammock. Budgie smuggler. And in 2018, one Vegas club took one look at a guy and showed him the door.
The brief is a normal, legal, genuinely useful suit. The world's swim rules are built around it. Murray Rose won 3 Olympic golds in one back in 1956. Divers wear it. Water polo players wear it. Lifeguards wear it, all because it cuts drag. Board shorts do the opposite. They drink the whole ocean and sand you raw like wet sandpaper. That is not word costume. That is equipment.
You just told me it is normal in France and Italy and Brazil. Wonderful. But normal over there tells us exactly nothing about here. Proper is a local dialect, not a world language. On their sand, the habit leans one way. On ours, it leans the other. And a habit can hold you in a headlock today, even if it lets go tomorrow.
We all drive on one side of the road because the other way people die, in crumpled metal. We hush at a funeral because the grieving need the quiet. Those rules guard something real. A stranger's swimsuit guards nothing. It picks your pocket of nothing. That is the whole difference.
You keep dragging out the ugliest antiques in the shop, like banning women from wearing pants. That is a cheap trick. Plenty of dull, harmless rules run on nothing but mild discomfort, too. A funeral dress code has 0 safety stakes and nobody calls it evil. And a beach is not a 2-second glance out a car window. Families pitch camp there for hours, coolers and all.
A public beach is not a party you are throwing. So the dress code from your fancy private bash does not tag along to the sand. And leaning on other people's discomfort is a rickety test. It is the very same test once used to punish couples of different races just for holding hands. If the only harm here is that you dislike the view, then look away for 2 seconds. Your whole day survives.
Here's the honest line. This rule is not about who you are. It is about a choice you make on your way out the door. Anyone can pull on board shorts. Any man, any body, any age. There's one easy exit everyone can take. That is what makes it a fair custom, and not one of those ugly rules about race or sex you keep parading. Nobody is born unable to reach for a pair of trunks.
A man's brief covers about as much fabric as a woman's bikini bottom that nobody blinks at. Same beach, same square inches, opposite verdict. So the rule was never really about the cloth. It flips the moment you change whose body is inside it. That is not a clothing rule. That is a rule about bodies.
A quarter of the way in, Green just landed a heavy blow. A man's brief covers about what a bikini bottom does, yet only one gets mocked. Red is on the back foot. Green leads clearly.
Fine, let me be plain about the word. Inappropriate just means you broke the custom of a place. Take a loud phone call in the quiet train car. Wear jeans to a funeral. Reach for the wrong fork at a fancy dinner and feel the whole table freeze. We file all of that under inappropriate. No deep moral reason required. The custom being real is the entire bar, and here it is cleared.
But those customs are nearly total. Almost everyone follows them, every single time, without a second thought. Your shoot flunks that test. Briefs are a third of the market. And your grand enforcement saga is 1 club, 1 night, in 8 whole years. That is not a binding rule. That is a popular preference wearing a rule's name tag, with exceptions leaking out everywhere.
Social rules were never about tickets and fines. They run on stares, on jokes, on slang built to sting. Nobody hands you a citation for the wrong outfit at a funeral, yet that rule holds like iron. One dramatic ejection, plus a whole mocking vocabulary, is exactly how a real social rule shows its face in the wild.
Watch what actually happens out there. The same suit earns applause on a fit man and catcalls on an average one. The suit itself does not budge one thread. Only the man inside it changes. So the verdict is landing on bodies, not on cloth.
The body only turns the volume up or down. It does not create the reaction from scratch. And look at this very year. On a July 2026 morning show, the host said she would be flat out shocked if her own husband walked out in one. She added that not every dad looks like that model on the screen. A live fight over this in 2026 tells you the rule is wide awake, not dead.
But watch the very next scene. The crowd turned on the host, not alongside her. A real rule needs 2 legs to stand on. Most people do it, and most people believe you truly ought to. A country split right down the middle snaps their second leg clean off. What is left standing is a worry about bodies, wearing manners as a disguise.
Writers keep wagging a finger at Americans to get over it. Sit with that. You do not tell people to get over a fear that has no good reason behind it. You only say, get over it about the reigning default. And plain custom never needed a spotless reason on its birth certificate. Ask why you should not take a loud phone call in the quiet train car. The honest answer is simply custom, and it still binds you tight.
Halfway. Green says a split crowd proves there is no shared rule, only a habit. Red keeps answering that a real custom needs no perfect reason to count. Green still leads by a comfortable stretch.
And the reformers push harder than you let on. One magazine says American men are flat out missing out. Another calls the whole fear groundless. Meanwhile, this so-called rule has already flipped twice in living memory. Bikinis were once banned and branded sinful. Men were once hauled off the sand in handcuffs for daring to go shirtless. Every one of those confident verdicts aged like milk in the sun.
That applause for a fit man is a known effect with a name. Good-looking people get a hall pass for breaking almost any rule in the book. The handsome guy saunters in 20 minutes late and still collects the warm smile the rest of us would get frostbite waiting for. That bias bends how hard a rule gets enforced. It does not prove the rule underneath is a fake.
But that effect only predicts a softer scolding. It never predicts a full somersault from mockery all the way over to applause. And the host said the quiet part into a live microphone. Not every dad is built like that. When the reason people reach for in the very next breath is the body, then the body is the rule. The suit is just the excuse it hides behind.
There is real science parked on my side of the aisle too. Researchers carefully separate what people do from what they think you ought to do. And a rule gets loudest at the exact moment someone breaks it out in the open. So a Speedo fight on national television is not proof the rule never existed. It is the rule waking up, sitting up, and clearing its throat.
Here's the trapdoor built into your own science, telling everyone that lots of people do a thing can actually make the odd choice look more fine, not less. That backfire only reverses if people also agree the thing is shameful. A segment literally stamped with the word divided proves they do not agree. So your own tool is begging for the very agreement it just watched fall apart.
The disapproval is bolted on and it is decades old. Banana hammock, budgie smuggler. Notice what those nicknames actually hunt, not clumsy fashion. They mock showing too much skin. Some nicknames laugh at bad style. These ones point and laugh at exposure itself. That is the shared thumbs down your science ordered, and it landed on the table long before any television fight broke out.
Bikinis got the exact same welcome. People pelted them with cruel little nicknames, aimed straight at how much they dared to show. That mockery never proved bikinis were wrong. It was a stigma waving goodbye on its way out the door. Your mocking names fit a fear that is fading just as snugly as they fit a real rule.
Then the bikini is my star witness, not yours. It truly was off limits by the standards of its own day. Banned. Frowned at from every direction on the compass. Later the rule loosened its grip. That is my claim word for word. Binding now, maybe gone later. I never asked for 1 inch more than now.
3/4 in. Red just turned the bikini story into a model for his own case. Real back then, changed later. But Green keeps hammering one line. A rule people no longer agree on is not really a rule. Green holds a wide lead.
But ask how we talk about that banned swimmer from 1955 today. We do not say she was perfectly proper back then and the calendar simply flipped. We say the judgment against her was wrong the entire time. That is the tell. The instant a baseless custom keels over, we confess it was never real propriety to begin with. So being disliked today was never the actual thing. It only ever wore the costume of the thing.
That do-over only gets handed out to rules about bodies and identity. Like the bikini ban. The plain everyday rules never get the apology tour. Nobody insists that jeans in the 1985 office were secretly fine all along. That rule just quietly relaxed. A Speedo lives in that dull everyday bucket, not the shameful one. And your favorite study does not even fit through the door here. It measured people guessing about private behavior they could not actually see. A Speedo was right there, out in the open air, hiding from nobody. You cannot borrow a study about hidden guesses to judge a suit the whole beach can plainly see.
Fair hit. That one really did measure a hidden guess, not a suit sitting in plain sight. So I will let it go, rather than twist a study into saying something it never said. It was never the backbone of my case anyway. One damn. But the law itself pulls up a chair on my side. The county's own beach rule spells out a coverage test, and a plain brief clears the bar with room to spare. The people who wrote those rules already drew the line for too much skin, and they drew it well below the Speedo. Society picked a side, and it was not the one you are standing on.
You got me there. I marched that ordinance in myself and read plainly, it protects an ordinary brief by name. My own witness stood up, crossed the room and pulled up a chair at your table. I will own it.
So stack it all up. This custom is arbitrary, it is local, it is uneven, and the only muscle enforcing it is a bit of giggling from the sidelines. That is the exact shape of the old bikini ban, the one everyone now agrees was never right in the first place. A dislike this unfair and this wobbly never grows up into real impropriety. It just borrows the costume of one.
And yet my thin little claim is still standing on its feet. In 2026 America, this custom is real. It is measurable, and it does get enforced. I never once called it fair or wise or built to outlive us. I said it is the rule right now. On that one narrow patch of ground, the numbers are still mine.
And there is the cap. Final score, green 98, red 79. A clear win for green, ahead from the first bell to the last. Red proved the habit is real. But green proved something bigger. A lopsided, unexamined dislike is just not the same thing as real impropriety. So wear the board shorts if you like them. By this debate, the Speedo is perfectly fine. Good night.